Hello everyone, thank you for attending my session today about value of DevOps release processes in for data teams. So a little bit about me. I'm Farlik. I'm a principal consultant at Advancing Analytics. I've been in data and AI for over 15 years, and I've got extensive experience of delivering Azure, Terraform, and Databricks solutions. So being a consultant, I get asked quite a lot of different questions from a wide range of stakeholders, and they're always the same thing. All right. Why do we need DevOps? Why do we need a release management process? Why do we need environments? But the big one for me is DevOps is an IT thing. Why do we need that? You know, we're a data team. We don't need this. And to be honest, the reason it is lack of knowledge, but it's not thinking of it's because they're not willing to change. It's because they come from a variety of different backgrounds. So not everyone comes from a software solution design, software development experience, but they tend to come from like an analytical background, me included. I came from an analytical background, went into engineering. So it's trying to help them understand what the benefits of it and what the issues that it causes. And there's quite a range of issues. So you've got the lack of collaboration. You have your data analysts and your data engineers do not speak to each other, and that means that you have to do a lot of rework. It's inefficient. You have delays because there's inconsistent deployment approaches. There's no clear path to production. You're introducing breaking changes, so by doing that, you're causing disruptions to your solution, and people will lose faith in that solution. And then lastly, the data quality. You're not testing your solution. So you're not catching bugs early. And therefore, again, people are going to lose faith in it. Why am I going to use a solution that doesn't provide me good quality data? So I'm going to go through some of these things. You know, if we think these things, if we think about these and build a release management process, then we'll be able to mitigate some of those issues. So release management. So I'll have a look at what that is. Talk about release strategy versus release plan. We'll look at what DevOps is. We'll have a quick discussion around kind of the development environments, branching strategies, and what the different types are, and then put it all together in that kind of deployment approach. And ultimately, we're trying to understand what the value is. Okay, by doing all this, what is the value to our teams? So, firstly, release management. In simple terms, it's basically a set of processes that we need to define up front to allow for us to release one solution. Okay, it's talking about it's defining the full life cycle. It's defining it from conception to deployment. It's all about the different environments. What's going to happen in all of those different environments that we're deploying to? And then it's ensuring that we deliver something effectively. It's a critical part for each development team to have a really good release management process. And essentially, it's basically will allow us to deploy things safely and efficiently and cause less amount of disruption to our end users. Because we always see this kind of GIF. This is my favorite GIF because you send it around. It's like, it'll be fine if we deploy it. It'll be fine if we deploy it to production. It will sort itself out. Of course, it's not always the case. So what's the difference between release strategy and release plan? So a release strategy is essentially the strategical definition. Okay, this is outlining what the guidelines are, what the principles are, how the life cycle is going to be. So it's all about the what and the when. So when do we release? To whom do we release this to? What value is this bringing? What kind of scope are these changes going to bring? You know, what kind of impacts is it going to make into our users? What type of testing and quality assurance are we doing? It's all defining all of these things up front. Also the life cycle. How is minor and major updates all handled? And then your plan is the tactic. The tactical, basically the roadmap is basically this is how we're going to apply it. All right. So it's the how and the who. So how are we going to release this solution? What are the kind of the steps required for that? So it's defining all of those steps. It's who's going to approve it. Essentially, who's going to manage? How are we going to manage that kind of release queue as well? So it's about how we're going to implement all the policies to ensure that we have the definition correctly done. Any tagging required. It's about applying a consistent delivery of your solution consistently. So then we've got DevOps. So DevOps is all about bringing people and the organizations together. So it's bringing the people and the processes together. And it's by bringing these two teams together, because DevOps is a construct of development team and operations team, bring them together to help you provide a solution to your end users. And it's about creating that feedback loop so we can deliver quickly and efficiently. So no matter which, so no DevOps approach is the same, okay? Every team is going to have their own different approach to DevOps. But the key things are things like version control, is ensuring that you're able to collaborate and have a resilient process in place. So have things like branching and merging approaches defined. DevOps is also about continuous delivery. So it's creating repeatable and reliable processes. You're looking to basically not pile up all your features and release it at the end of the month or in 3 months' time. It's all about releasing more frequently. So that's what continuous delivery is that frequency on delivering. It's made out of a couple of things. One is continuous integration, and this is all about testing out and validating the bit of code that you've done before it goes any further. It's doing automated testing, potentially. It's detecting those bugs faster or any issues before you fully integrate it into your solution. It allows you to roll back quickly as well if there are issues. And then you've got that continuous deployment. It's deploying the identical solution confidently and repeatably. Okay. It's taking your code and productionizing it. So the different environments, and it's a key one, is why do we need all these different environments? Well, as we are doing more frequent releases, we need to make sure that we do testing. And testing is an integrated part of software solution life cycles. This will ensure that we've thoroughly tested our solution, and we've done this multi-step deployment process. Each of these environments have their own specific requirements. And so there's a few of the key points there. So you got your development. So you do your development. That's where you get you develop your code. You'd update your code. You'd add that new feature. You might do your unit testing there. You do integration testing, and then you'll move on to the test environment. The test will be where you resolve any issues between your development and test environment. So resolve any defects. Do some testing. Again, do some functional testing, maybe do some quality assurance testing. And then you've got pre-prod or staging, which is a replica of your production environment. And this is where you'll basically ensure that you've done UAT testing potentially, where you've done integrated testing, your final quality assurance testing will be done. And then finally, you then productionize it, where you basically publish that final code into your production environment. Right, so we've gone through each of these and we've improved and ensured the quality of our solution is good. And the key thing we don't do in production is we don't do testing in it. We should not test in production. The only time we should do any type of testing in production is during the deployment window, is to verify that what we've pushed in there is there. So some of the key things with it is it will allow you to identify bugs and bugs early and quickly. Okay, it reduces the risk in your platform because you're not going to be introducing new bugs and changes without testing them out thoroughly. It improves collaboration. So you might have one developer going and doing productionization where another one starts on a new feature in the development environment. So it means you've got more efficiency. It reduces delays because you've done thorough testing and you know it's going to work up to you. So when you do go and hit production and you pause production for a day or a couple of hours, you know that you're not going to cause too much of a delay. And then, as I said, it allows you to build new features. So branching strategy. Go to the next slide. Okay, so branching strategy is key to version control. Okay, and it's about trying to pick an efficient one. But It's going to allow us, give us a quite wide range of things. Okay, it's going to allow us to manage our source control. It's going to allow us to track changes to our code. It allows us to collaboratively work with others, so people can work simultaneously on a project. Right? You can take feature branches off your branch. So it means multiple developers can be working on the same project but have different features, and then merge them in. It allows you to work with reducing the risk, so developers can focus on what bits of work they're doing and not worry about any wider issues. However, if we don't manage our branches, then it can get really messy and it can get unmanageable. There are three key and popular workflows, and this is the most common one is Git flow, where you have two branches. Okay, so you have your main branch and your development branch, and then your feature branches come off your development branch, and it has its pros and cons. Right? I'm not going to go through them, but they're at the bottom there. Okay, and it just there's one option. Another option is GitLab flow, and this is introducing a new release branch in the middle. And again, this time round, each of those branches go to an environment. So this is isolating each branch to its specific environment. And again, it has its pros and cons. It can get a little bit complex because you have to manage more branches, but it can be efficient. And then you've got GitLab flow, which is a single branch flow. And I think everybody here, if you've got a GitHub account, is probably using this approach, because you have one main branch, and then you just do a feature, you push it in. And that's great if you're on your own and you're doing that as a single user, but it's not great for collaboration. And it's not great for a production environment, because you can't test what you're merging in until you've done it. So there are three there. And when it comes to choosing these, it's the ultimate consultancy word of it all depends on a variety of factors, because it does depend on your project requirements. It does depend on your development method and how scalable you want it to be. What a user's preference. Some users might prefer to use a specific approach that they've used in other organizations or in other projects. What CI/CD tool you've got. Whatever CI/CD tool you choose should align to your strategy, as well as your DevOps pipelines that you're going to generate. So when choosing, this is what you should consider. Okay, you should consider that it's going to improve and speed up your life cycle for your releases. Okay, it's going to improve the productivity. It's not going to add additional add additional overheads, or add any additional complexity. It supports version control, simple as. And then it's collaborative, so you can have multiple people using it. And it integrates into your DevOps tool of choice. So when we want to put all this together, we're going to go and try and have a deployment approach. And a deployment approach is essentially a series of tasks for everything we've just mentioned so far, and it's defining all series of tasks for one release. Okay. It's about introducing changes and deployments without having too many manual interventions. Yeah, to reduce those manual interventions, we want to have an effective deployment approach. And also, it's about not having explicit permissions. Okay, and this would be great because security will love you for that. So you're saying, I'm going to deploy it, but it's going to be someone else is going to do it. Through your service principles. So it doesn't have to be one specific person's user IDs. And it uses DevOps CI/CD tools. So you can start introducing repositories, branches, and have pull requests and approvers in there. So there are a wide range of tools out there that allows you to do all this. Now, DevOps is common within the Microsoft world. GitHub, Git Actions, and you've got GitLabs as well there. So there's a wide range of them. And when we put this all together, so we've got our environments at the top. So we've got our dev, we've got our test, we've got our staging, prod. And then we would create a feature branch. We'd do some work on that from our development branch. We'd test that out. You do some unit testing, make sure the changes are valid. We'll push that through a pull request into our development branch. Once it's in development, we'll basically push that into the actual development environment, and then again we'll do some unit testing, we'll do some integration testing, and then we'll push that into test. And in test is where we do some functional testing, we do some QA testing, and once we're happy with that, we'll merge that into main, and then main, again through a pull request, we'll push that in. We might have some branch policies there where it basically tell us, you need to have an X number of approvers. You might have certain merge restrictions. So once we've gone through all of that, we can go and do some testing, get some user testers in there. Once they're happy with it, once they've signed off, we can then merge that into production. And then in production, we wait for a deployment window, we deploy it. And then we might add some release tags to validate what release number it is. Okay, this is just marking that basically the separation from all the other commits. All right, so we might do a squash here as well. So this is us putting it all together. So finally, going into the value. So what value is all this bringing us? So I mentioned a lot of the values as we were talking, right? But for your development team, it's going to improve collaboration. It means that they're able to talk to other parts of the business and get their feedback. And it's starting to build that kind of feedback loop. It's removing the single point of failure. So we don't have to wait for X to come back from holiday before we deploy, or that person can't go on holiday because they are deployment release manager. None of that. It's basically everyone gets the opportunity to do deployments, and everyone knows what they're doing. It means you can do more releases, more frequent releases as well, and they'll be more efficient. You're going to minimize the number of manual efforts for deployments as well. I mean, there might always be some manual stuff you need to do, just can't be helped, but you're going to minimize that. So, and then finally, it's going to help you identify bugs quicker. Means you're going to be more efficient. And then you've got your end users. And your end users are basically going to, this can be internal, can be external users, but essentially they're going to see the value quicker, right? Because you're delivering things quicker, right? They don't have to wait months before they see a new feature. You are changing those features based on the feedback loop as well. So it helps build that feedback loop. They're going to be more confident on the releases. There's going to be less downtime because they've been included in a lot of the decision making and making sure that they've been testing it because they've used all the development environments. They've and you're basically, because you're testing it, you're going to introduce less risks to them. And then finally, you've got the business. And the value the business is going to see is basically they're going to see the value in the development team that they've been spending. Right? So they're going to see that because they're going to see the kind of the benefits of that they're getting from these solutions, the quality and the efficiency from the data teams. It helps build this data culture in the organization as well. And then finally, just that accelerating that digital transformation. So to wrap up, is a very quick run through of this, but essentially break down silos. These practices will help you break down the silos of your teams. Okay, it improves the communication. It will improve the collaboration between those teams. You have faster and continuous feedback loops. It's fostering continuous improvements, so you can basically start getting new features to the market quicker. It's about reliability and stability of releases. Okay, so you have separate environments for separate purposes, and so you're improving the quality as you go through those stages. It means you're going to provide a high quality solution to your end users, and it improves the efficiency of your team. Okay, so people don't have to wait around for a release to happen. They can start working on the next feature. Okay, so it reduces the manual processes, and you're able to apply unit tests, because if you know you have to do certain tests on the same thing, you can start applying that. And then reduces, and then reduces the cost. So then you've got basically, so it reduces costs, and then there's always a challenge about basically setting these things up, right? It's time consuming, but at the end of the day, it will help you reduce overhead, it'll help you reduce the downtime, and it will make your team more productivity. So for me, the call of action here is, go give it a go, give it a chance, build that cross-functional team across your organization. Please give feedback. There's the links there. It's very helpful to get feedback. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll be around if you want. I've got any questions. All right. Thank you.